Okay, so I'm Caleb Ladd, and I'm going to be talking about Paradise Lost, Book 1, specifically lines 242 to 263 by John Milton. So, some background. Milton starts off this book by stating that this story will be about how humanity first disobeyed God and the resulting consequences of this betrayal. Milton then goes on to explain the story of Adam and Eve and how this was what damned humanity until Jesus came along and restored humanity to its former purity. The book also contains the origin story of Satan, which is what this will be focusing on. Satan was once an angel in heaven named Lucifer. However, he was banished to hell along with his army after he waged war against God. In order to exact revenge, Satan takes on the appearance of a snake and tempts Eve to eat the apple and cause the downfall of humanity. So the lead up to 242 to 263. The speaker calls upon his muse to tell the story of Adam and Eve. The muse explains that Adam and Eve could have ruled the world if Eve was not seduced into eating the forbidden fruit. The muse then goes on to state that the infernal serpent was the one that seduced Eve. The serpent was driven by his desire to get revenge on God for kicking him out of heaven by getting Eve to do this. The muse then begins to transition to a discussion between Satan, who is the serpent, and other leaders of his army, following their landing in hell. So on line 84, the narrative switches to Satan speaking, and he speaks to one of his archangels, Beelzebub. Satan speaks to Beelzebub about how there has been a change, but they still seem to be the same and have the same motives as before. Satan tells Beelzebub that God is a tyrant and recruits the rest of the fallen angels to his cause. So for the first question, does Satan have a point wanting to be freed from God's control and calling him a tyrant, or is he just a sore loser who wants to be a ruler? Okay, moving on. Beelzebub praises Satan for being fearless, but also praises God for being as powerful as he is. He then begins to question their situation. Why do the fallen angels still have their mighty power even after being banished to hell? Is it because God intended to make them his slaves? Satan responds to this by saying that God plans to bring about great good to the world, so they must work to thwart that. Satan urges the fallen angels to make the best of their new location and says that they can find hope for taking over heaven or be content with their new home in hell. Satan goes on to describe the fiery pits of hell and talks about how heaven, having released him, has allowed him to bring about all the crime that he could possibly want. This brings us up to the lines we will be talking about. So, lines 242 to 263. They read, "Is this the region, this the soil, the clime?" Said then the lost archangel, "This the seat that we must change for heaven, this mournful gloom, for that celestial light? Be it so, since he who is now sovereign can dispose and bid what shall be right. Furthest from him is best, whom reason hath equalled, force hath made supreme above his equals. Farewell, happy fields, where joy forever dwells. Hail horrors, hail infernal world, and thou profoundest hell. Receive thy new possessor, one who brings a mind not to be changed by place or time. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. What matter where, if I be still the same? and what I should be, all but less than he whom thunder hath made greater? Here at least we shall be free. The Almighty hath not built here for his envy, will not drive us hence. Here we may reign secure, and in my choice to reign is worth ambition, though in hell. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. So my second question, what does this passage suggest about Satan's character? Who was Satan and who has he become after spending a little time in hell and reflecting? Take some time to discuss that. And if you've made it this far, question 3. Satan said earlier that the fallen angels could either regain hope that they will take over heaven, or they can accept their place in hell and make the best of it. After reading this passage, which one do you think is most likely to happen? So in conclusion, from this passage and the story leading up to it, we have learned about the origins of Satan, how he came to be. We have learned that he was an angel who was banished from heaven for rising up against God. We've also learned that Satan has come to accept his new role as the leader of hell, and that he only wants followers that are the least like God. Satan has become the supreme ruler through the use of force, and is now seeming to like the idea of having this new fiery realm to rule over without God's rule in place. Thank you for listening.